back by popular demand. We are doing sit-ups today. So I'm gonna go over the proper form, and then I'm gonna show you some moves that I think are actually better than sit-ups. So I understand that a lot of people want to do a sit-up just to do it, or I remember when I used to do martial arts, it was a requirement that you had to be able to do a certain number of sit-ups in a certain amount of time to be able to go up in belts or go up in rank. So I understand why people want to know how to do it properly, and for the military and stuff you have to do it, but if you are just exercising to build core strength, please make sure you either skip to the end of the video or watch the end of the video so that you can understand some better moves that you can do to build your core than a sit-up. So when you are doing a sit-up, the main thing that I see people doing is, number one, slamming into the ground when they hit the ground, and they're also swinging and using all of this momentum. Anytime you do a core movement, and this is true for a lot of exercises, but when we're talking about core movement, not movement, any kind of pendulum movement or momentum is going to be bad for you, okay? What you want is control. So if I see you doing this number, that's bad, okay? Now I understand, like, when I was taking tests for martial arts to go up in rank, I would do that because it was about time, but in your daily exercise, please don't do this, okay? Instead, what I want you to do is to firmly plant your feet on the ground. A lot of the time I will see people put their feet underneath a weight as a way to anchor their foot, or they'll put it under, I don't know, a couch or something, right? And the reason you're doing this is to increase your control of the movement, okay? So I am all for anchoring your feet. I think especially if you're a beginner, make sure that you anchor your feet. When you go down, make sure that your back is not doing this, and you're also making sure that your core is tight. So when you're starting sitting up, what I want you to do is to suck your belly button into your spine, suck it in, and then also make sure that as you roll down, you're not slamming your back down, but you're rolling down one vertebrae at a time. Squeeze that core in as you're down here. I don't want to see a big arch in your back. You'll see this again. I was talking about the squat with this as well, but a lot of fitness models that you'll see online will have this huge gap. I can fit my whole hand under here, right? They'll have this huge gap from where their back is supposed to hit the ground. I want you to pull your belly button into your spine, pull that pubic bone up to your nose. I keep talking about that, right? This is pretty common core strength form. Pubic bone to nose, belly button to spine. And then once your core is tight, then I want you to sit up. Make sure that you're not leading with your neck, but you're leading with your core, okay? So my neck could stay in the same position. It's not pulling me forward. That's gonna hurt your neck. What you wanna do is, Crystal, you commented down below, you're like, can you please talk about how important it is to have your neck in line with your spine? And the reason that is, and Crystal is completely right, her tag is Curly Crystal, I think. The reason that's so important is because your neck is part of your spine, okay? Or it's part of your whole central nervous system. So this part of your back is part of your spinal cord. So you wanna keep that all in a line, right? So a lot of times when I tell people, try to keep it in line with your spine, they'll put their head forward or they'll put their head back. But I want you to just have it in neutral spine, shake it out, neutral spine, keep it there, okay? So chin is up, and as you go down, you're rolling down, pressing your lower back into the ground by pulling that pubic bone to your spine, and then you're gonna come back up. So you're rolling down and back up. When you come up, I don't wanna see any forward movement. I don't wanna see you pulling like this. One tip that I've seen online is to brush your hands against your legs as you go up and down. So as you're going up, brush your arms, your hands against your legs. This way you're focusing, it just helps some people focus on the movement of going up as opposed to pulling their head up. I see this a lot with push-ups as well. People will push their face into the ground. You'll put your head where you want to go. Don't put your head where you want to go. Use your core to make you go where you want to go, okay? So again, I know I'm talking a lot, so the basics of a sit-up are lay down on the ground, lay down with one vertebrae at a time, and then I want you to squeeze, belly button to spine, pelvic bone to your nose. Then I want you to sit up, Make sure that your core is really tight. That's the movement, okay? You're not using any momentum whatsoever. And then as you go back down, I want you to roll your pubic bone to your nose, roll one vertebrae at a time down to the ground, keep that lower back pressed into the ground, and come back up. When you're doing sit-ups in progression, so let's say you're gonna do 10 sit-ups, what I don't wanna see you do is to lay all the way back down. What I wanna see you do is to have your shoulders and your head off the ground so that you're keeping this contraction as you go up and down. This way, you're not going to hurt your back because your core being tight is protecting your back. So this tightness is protecting that spinal cord so that you're not hurting yourself. So you don't want to come all the way forward like this, and you don't want to go all the way down. A lot of exercises are about increasing mobility, but the sit-up is not. And that's one reason that I don't like it. And another reason that I really don't like it is when you're sitting up, even when you are trying your best to have your core super tight, you're still at a really big chance or a big risk of creating internal pressure. So like I was talking about before with the plank yesterday, you might be pushing those muscles out and pulling on that connective tissue, which can cause diastasis recti, right? So I would really suggest that you be really careful and maybe not choose to do that, but instead choose to do a plank. A plank is an incredible core exercise. Another kind of core exercise that I really like is any kind of exercise that instead of moving all the way up and all the way down, it's a movement that keeps your belly button to your spine, your lower back on the ground through the entire movement. I'm gonna turn around. One of my favorite exercises that does this is the bicycle crunch. And I'm sure you've seen this one before. It's everywhere online, which is awesome. But what I want you to do is to make sure that you're not able to reach under your back, right? Your belly button is to your spine, pubic bone to your nose, and your legs are at 90-degree angles this entire time. So this is gonna help you keep your lower back on the ground. So this protects your lower back and it also protects your core. So then I want you to pull your upper body off of the mat, again, squeezing that belly button to spine, and then to reach out and over. Out and over, bicycle crunch. Feet are flexed. This is gonna help you engage your core more. If you point your toes often, it encourages you to dome your belly, increasing that pressure, as opposed to pulling your belly button to spine. At least for me, when I flex my foot, so my toes are pointed at the sky, as opposed to straight forward when they're flexed. This helps me pull my belly button in more. My lower back is down, and I can do these bicycle crunches. Another really good exercise that I really enjoy is one where you're on your side and you do a V-up or an oblique crunch. So you're laying down like this. You can have your hand either here or out here. I prefer it out here. And you go up and you try to touch your toes, just like this. And if you can't do that, then what I want you to do is to just bring up one leg. The other leg is just out on the ground or bent. And then the other leg is coming up like this. So your elbow and your knee are meeting, and you're really clenching your obliques as you go up and down. So I would suggest that you don't do the sit-up for a daily exercise if you're doing it to get a strong core. Because in my opinion, it's very easy to mess up your spine. It's very easy to mess up your core with this particular exercise. But because it is popular in a lot of tests for sports and for careers, I understand why you want to do it. When you're practicing for that test, make sure that your form is perfect, so that when you do the test and you're having to use momentum and throw your body around, because that's what you have to do, I'm just speaking of reality here, that way you will actually have a super strong core, and then that one time that you use momentum and throw your body around, you're probably not going to hurt your core because your core is already super strong and super tight and ready to take a beating, right? Because that's kind of what that is when you're just throwing your body around. But I'm not telling you that if you're taking a test to get into the police academy that you shouldn't do your best to get as many sit-ups in a minute as you can. I think you should, obviously. So I'm just trying to make my opinion here very clear. If you want some more core exercises that are not sit-ups, let me know and I can make a separate video about that. I hope this video helped you. I love doing this kind of thing, talking about form, proper form. It is such a passion of mine personally. I find it super interesting. Let me know if you're interested in this and I can do a different kind of series on more complicated exercises. I would love to know. I love that Crystal asked for this one specifically because I know that I'm at least helping one person. Let me know if there is a specific move that you struggle with or that you've seen a lot of people get injured with and therefore you're scared to try it because you don't want to get injured, which is smart. Let me know and I will do my best to give you some advice on good form. I always try to do my research before I do these videos, just in case what I remember from what I have learned before